From when the Walt Disney Studios park opened at Disney Paris in 2002, it never met expectations. It was often called the worst Disney theme park in the world. The tiny, ugly-looking park was filled with very few rides, and what was there was mostly attractions that could be found in other parks. But, well, let's be honest, worst versions. The worst backlot tour, the worst rock and roller coaster, but there was one opening day attraction that, while objectively is also the worst, it captured my heart. Based on the 1998 blockbuster film Armageddon, the Walt Disney Studios was home to a special effects show that took the meaning "that was it" to a whole new theme park level. I could stay awake just to see you special effects in forever, but in 2019, Armageddon The Effects Spectacular closed its eyes and fell asleep forever. And if you're anything like me, we miss you, baby, because even when I dream of you, the sweetest dream would never do, and I will always miss you, and I am glad I got to experience you and didn't miss a thing. Sadly, we couldn't stay in that moment of being blown away by meteor crashing special effects forever, but every moment I spent looking at the history of this attraction will be a moment I treasure.
To experiencing exactly what the actors did.
When the Walt Disney Studios theme park was added to Disneyland Paris, it was often stated that this was the outcome of Disney's tough 10-year learning curve of operating in Europe. A requirement from the original deal to create 2 theme parks, next door to one of the most beautiful theme parks anywhere in the world. That learning would open a no-frills underwear on the outside park that put the backstage of the theme park firmly on show, aiming to show visitors how the magic was made, rather than immerse them in it. At the time, newspapers reported how this was to be the perfect fit for European theme park fans, stating that the European market doesn't have a desire for the ultimate extreme rides like Americans do, they just wanted to see how things worked and shows. One also stated that until the past 3 years there were no major roller coasters in Europe, just spinning type rides. But, okay, sure, we'll just ignore that one.
This Studios tram tour is fun, but I can't stop thinking about Rock and Roller Coaster. Did Aladdin say anything to you?
Well, just that it was the best. Well, I guess Aladdin knows everything. Oh.
For Walt Disney Studios, Jay Rizzullo, Disney CEO of Paris Operations, stated they had chosen the theme of cinema because it was a very powerful concept in Europe, and film has very deep European roots, not only in the terms of technology and in artistry, but in terms of emotions. They said, like Americans, Europeans can really be reached and touched through the integration of film, and they plan to use that in a theme park. Like all Disney parks, they wanted the destination to tell a story, and in this case, the story is how films were made.
Camera.
Moteur, Saturn,
Action.
For one of the new 10-ish new attractions at the brand new Disney park, they would choose a movie that had deep European roots, that would understand the emotions of every person of Europe and connect them to that powerful connection of film. And that film would be Michael Bay's Armageddon.
What's your contingency plan?
Contingency plan?
Your backup plan. You gotta have some kind of backup plan, right?
No, we don't have a backup plan.
A film deeply connected to every person of Paris, as in the film, Paris is literally obliterated by a section of meteor and wiped off the Earth forever. A film so American that basically highlights that anything in Europe is irrelevant as long as the United States ends up okay, because of course, they will be going up to save the day. Perfect, exactly what the French people wanted. In 1996, Disney Studios chief Joe Roth wanted to use the title for a movie Armageddon, before even having a story to go with it, and secured the rights to the name by trading 2 Disney titles, Father's Day and Conspiracy Theory, to producer Joel Silver, controller of the registered title Armageddon. They assembled a team to create the film, and Jerry Bruckheimer, who produced Con Air and The Rock, was the obvious choice. And before anything had even been set for what the film would be, a release date was set for July 1st, 1998. Disney insisted before release it will be one of the two big blockbusters of the summer, with the other expected to be Godzilla. They knew that it would be a big hit with young men, and they wanted to bring in an even bigger audience, so began promoting the romantic subplot involving Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler as the main marketing point of the movie. Animal cracker, anyone? The romance scenes in this movie are just, I can't even explain. But Armageddon was being promoted as the greatest date movie ever. The movie is about how an oil driller and his buddies train to become astronauts in a week and go into space and drill a hole in a meteor and blow it up from the inside so it doesn't hit Earth and the whole planet is saved. Well, except Paris. Only one guy could get that job done. That was the guy who drilled everything that couldn't be drilled.
I've been drilling holes in the Earth for 30 years, and I have never missed a depth that I have aimed for.
But you don't need to know any of that, because none of it is relevant to the attraction at all. The action movie Armageddon was released on July 1st, 1998 to a mixed response on the Touchstone Pictures label. Often compared to Deep Impact, which they basically stole, and had come out just a few months before, nothing would stop the movie's success. Commercially, it was a huge hit, grossing $553 million worldwide, and would become the highest grossing film of 1998. If you know anything about me from my videos over the last 7+ years, you know that I love corny action movies, with ridiculous lines and premises that make no sense, and well, Armageddon is not an exception to that rule, so strap in.
We're just in the beginning part of space. We haven't even gotten to outer space yet.
When it came to planning the Walt Disney Studios in the late 90s, a big blockbuster hit was exactly what they needed for a special effects show, similar to Twister at Universal Studios Florida. By the time the attraction would open, Armageddon was a 4-year-old movie.
Within the Armageddon special effects attraction, we've been able to recreate a very tightly confined space station, just as we saw in the Armageddon movie. With this, we've been able to recreate special effects from the film, be it flame effects, meteor showers, deep space projections, all within the space to really give a visceral experience to our guests.
People over the years really hated when the sorcerer hat was blocked the view of the Chinese theater at MGM Studios. But what people did love blocking the view was during 1998, the armadillo drilling vehicle from the movie was placed directly in front of the theater. During the movie's hype, people loved being able to take pictures of the giant vehicle during the special promotion, and props were added to the studio tram tour. During 1998, there was also a making of Armageddon experience in the Lights Camera Action Theater.
To create a disaster sequence of such monumental proportions, the filmmakers took over an entire city block.
It creates emotion and sweeps you away and sweeps you along for the feeling of the picture.
The first and most important.
As well as Billy Bob's eyeglasses.
Above, the clock is counting down. We are waiting for clearance.
With that success, Disney began to think of ways to make a permanent Armageddon experience at the parks.
Ce qui est très nouveau sur Armageddon, c'est la façon dont nous avons composé et chorégraphié tous les effets spéciaux.
The attraction was brought to life by Thierry Coup, who would later go on to be the lead of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal. Armageddon was originally said to also be built in the Hollywoodland area of California Adventure, though this version would never happen, and the area would later become home to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Play It. Armageddon, the special effects show, opened with the Walt Disney Studios Park on March 16, 2002. Sat outside was that very same armadillo drilling vehicle that had once been on display at MGM Studios. After arriving at Studio 7, a very unthemed looking soundstage with posters of the movie's actors, your experience begins. Up to 200 guests could experience the attraction at a time, entering one of the two pre-show rooms. The whole experience took around 20 to 25 minutes, giving quite a low capacity attraction that often in the early years led to long lines. While the main show was only 5 minutes long, the pre-show was nearly 15.
Effets spéciaux. Je m'appelle Peggy et je fais partie de l'équipe des effets spéciaux.
It began by a cast member welcoming you to the special effects stage. This long spiel had to be memorized by cast, and none of them were entertainment teams, just ride attraction hosts. The cast members could become the most memorable part of the whole experience, either for being really good and getting the crowd to interact, or in later years, mostly sometimes just not caring at all. The pre-show spiel was fully in French, but it did have subtitles in multiple different languages adjacent to the main pre-show screen, which you had to stare at, not the opening video, so it was not very easy to understand what was going on if you didn't speak French. Sketches and models of various space station vehicles and props from the movies were on display in this room. In a move right out of Universal Studios, those inside would be cast as budding actors. And this wasn't just any movie scene that you would be filming, this would be a special effects extravaganza. I can't tell you how many times I did this show before I actually even realized what was going on. If you haven't seen the movie for a while, it's a little weird that you don't really see like a big meteor hitting Earth or anything like that, just a small space station. After you're welcomed, a video would display some great moments in special effects history from over the years. Originally, before the History of Special Effects video, select audience members were chosen to perform acting on a small stage, with green screen effects. Those chosen had to awkwardly pretend they were skiing, fighting Godzilla, or doing ballet, as a somewhat bored crowd watched it on the screen above. One thing Europeans definitely love to do is get in front of a crowd of people and act silly. Perfect. After the video of the History of Special Effects, one of the stars from the movie appears. No, not Bruce Willis, but a heavily dubbed Michael Clarke Duncan.
Salut, je suis Michael Clarke Duncan, une des vedettes d'Armageddon. Vous savez, généralement, une explosion de cette importance peut blesser quelqu'un. Mais regardez-moi ça. Pas une égratignure.
As Disneyland Paris over the years has switched to offering more English, the pre-show was later switched to the original audio with subtitles.
Not a scratch. Thanks to the magic of special effects, that is. Can I get a little fresh air, please? I should have seen that one coming! Here on the special effects stage, you have to be ready for anything!
Let's never forget heavily dubbed Michael Clarke Duncan explaining to us in French how we are going to experience exactly what they did on the film.
Au beau milieu de l'action, et dans un film comme Armageddon, ça peut se montrer très excitant, tout en étant terrifiant à la fois. Mais vous n'êtes pas obligé de me croire sur parole, ils sont prêts à vous recevoir sur le plateau. Je vais m'en tenir là pour aujourd'hui, mais vous, allez-y, vous n'avez rien à craindre, je vous assure. Il n'y a absolument rien à craindre, pas vrai les gars?
After the video, guests got to do a little more acting scared, bracing themselves for impact, things like that, before heading into the main experience. The Russian space station from the movie awaited. The one in the beginning part of space. Don't think you were ever going to go into outer space on this one. The set has incredible detail, and it has no defined standing area. Rather than make a big open room for effects, they decided to go with a tight, almost confusing space reminiscent of the real space station. The free roaming, circular room allowed each visit to be different, as you could see things happening around you in different locations. It also put you right inside the special effects, rather than watching them from a distance. Just like in the movie also, the Russian Space Center was not long for this world, as the meteor impact was coming.
Scan station for interior damage.
Endommagé. Alerte, niveau d'énergie critique.
Go to backup power unit.
Unité de puissance auxiliaire active. Alerte, rupture intérieure.
How bad is the rupture?
Throughout the experience, you would hear dialogue from the Russian cosmonaut and the ship's onboard computer. Two viewports opened on either end to give you a view of outside and the meteor approaching. As debris passed one window, it would appear on the other, as if it was passing by where you were stood. As the debris begins to hit the station, a large number of effects begin surrounding the guests. There really was so much happening it was impossible to see it all in one visit, really helping return visits, if you wanted to brave the pre-show again. This was not so great for the first time, when you had no idea where you were supposed to be standing or looking, and missed nearly every effect.
I'm on my way to escape capture.
Désolé, capture désolé. Alerte, météo approchant corridor 6. Alerte, module scientifique approchant corridor 6.
Will it hit?
Probabilité de collision 100%. Alerte, corridor 6. Rupture
Go to call again immediately. Yes.
Porte d'accès close.
Good. No problem. Damn.
Alerte, météo approchant. Dimension France.
No. That is big problem.
Préparé à l'impact.
This is disaster for Russian space station.
Préparé à l'impact.
Good report.
Préparé à l'impact. Préparé à l'impact.
The directional audio in the experience was intense. The lighting was pretty incredible. Fire, smoke, electricity sparked, gas through the floor and falling ceilings. This really was a special effects extravaganza. Every direction you looked, something different was happening. Normally, it was in the opposite direction to the way I was actually looking, but here, it was incredible. As the floor drops at the end, visitors no longer had to act like they were scared. It actually could be quite scary. And Disney began warning children this may not be for them. After cut was called, that was your Armageddon experience complete. After you exited the show, a giant wind fan effect was outside to give one final special effect. It was also perfect for a hot summer day.
See the Earth on one side and we're supposed to be in rotation, Earth rotation in orbit.
Hi, my name's Paul. I'm the special effects lead for Armageddon, the Amazing Effects Show. I'm functioning as special effects lead in the attraction and also acting as the technical director for the show.
Man. During the attraction, propane gas was used for the fire effects. That really does get quite close to where you are standing. One of the more impressive effects was a real vacuum was created, giving the feeling of the air being sucked out of the room when a meteor would breach the space station. This effect was sadly later turned down, but it was one of the most impressive in the whole attraction, and was not seen elsewhere.
The rehearsal of the effects begins about 2 years ago. We go over the script with the creative director, the creator of the show, Thierry. We go through each individual element as it pertains to the story, and we start playing with different types of technologies to come up with the looks for each of those elements. The biggest technical challenge for me personally was the suction wind effect. We have a sequence in the show where the space station gets broken by a big meteor that hits it. And we all know that in space, we've got a vacuum. So any air that's in the space station has to be sucked out of the space station. How did we do that? Well, we actually did it. We actually pull a vacuum on the room. It's a gigantic technical feat that we've accomplished.
And then the fire effect.
Now earlier, I said that the movie Armageddon opened to mixed reviews. To remain consistent, the Armageddon special effects show did exactly the same. Some reported the incredible special effects in every direction, the interactive fun pre-show, and getting to experience the movie come to life. Others? Well, not so great. A boring pre-show that wastes time. Small tiny effects you miss if you look in the wrong direction. And it was way too scary for kids. Compared to Backdraft and Twister, or even attractions you could find with lower budgets at PortAventura, this was something that wasn't really up to the Disney standard. One of the main problems was, for what it was, it should be like a minor attraction, a filler one at a theme park. In that case, it could come across pretty good. Walt Disney Studios, though, just hardly had anything else to do, elevating it to a main ride level rather than a filler ride. It was billed as an e-ticket park attraction, when in reality it was just a short, simple special effects demo with a pre-show that was 3 times as long as the actual experience. Regardless, Armageddon was open, and people were visiting it because, what else were you going to do at 2002 Walt Disney Studios? What was considered an e-ticket experience in opening year slowly became just a smaller part of a place that was now finally getting some good attractions. Eventually, after the park began to expand and they started losing a little less money, more additions were added, such as Tower of Terror. And Armageddon took a back seat and became somewhat of a filler attraction you would do just when you had time. Like so many movie-based theme parks, the Walt Disney Studios would eventually start moving away from behind-the-scenes movie-making attractions, the original idea for the whole park. For years and years, people could not believe that Armageddon still existed, and many expected it to close at any moment. As more and more special effects shows began to close throughout the world of theme parks, Armageddon, the small, disjointed one at Walt Disney Studios, time would come. Over the years of its existence, many effects would break, pre-show enthusiasm would die even more, but it would remain pretty much exactly the same. Located near Rock and Roller Coaster, you could get an Aerosmith-filled corner of the park from the day it opened until the day it closed in 2019. In December 2018, Disney announced that Armageddon would close on March 31st, 2019, and the backlot would be no more. Some theme park rides close with no warning, others with no recognition. Record-breaking coasters disappear overnight. Armageddon would not be one of those attractions. It would go out with a big celebration. On its final day of operation, annual pass holders were able to attend a special closing ceremony. Those in attendance could experience the attraction one final time with a special presentation. Located at the bottom of Tower of Terror, the Disneyland Paris ambassador team invited those in attendance to take one final ride. After 17 years of operation, and after it had welcomed 33 million guests, the attraction was now about to take one final mission to make way for Marvel. As the sun set on the attraction's time in the park, cast members from the attraction were welcome on stage to be celebrated, to music from the film. As a countdown reaches 0, scenes from the movie, including the shuttle taking off, were projected onto Tower of Terror, before singers sang the iconic Aerosmith theme song from the movie, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, as scenes from the film played behind them. Quite a fitting send-off for an attraction that many people did not love. On exit from the experience, those in attendance were given a special gift, a piece of lava stone. Come on, don't tell me you're not getting emotional seeing that farewell. By the end of the decade it originally opened, people were calling for its replacement. Now, it was finally closed forever. Slowly the props and set were removed and the building demolished to make way for Spider-Man web slingers. The era of behind-the-scenes movie action at Walt Disney Studios Park was coming to a close. Avengers Campus opened in the location, replacing the backlot in 2022. It continued the opening day tradition of the park, of being the worst version of the Avengers Campus to open. Armageddon really sums up the creation of Walt Disney Studios. A tiny and ugly attraction building, a queue with very little theming, a long and often boring pre-show that many guests disliked and deemed it wasn't worth the time, and an attraction that has some good moments, but is too little too late. This was a Universal Studios ride, made by Disney, yet would feel more at home in a small regional park. An attraction just like the park that was billed as so much more than you got. Special effects shows at smaller parks already existed that offered more, on a cheaper budget. Half the time its guests thought that the attraction was the pre-show, leading up to more and ended up asking, was that it? Many would not wait through the long pre-show to see the pretty cool special effects part. To be honest, Walt Disney Studios in Paris could be a whole expedition by itself. And it is only finally now, slowly, it is beginning to transform into a better theme park worthy of the Disney name. Now, saying all that, I have a special place in my heart for behind-the-scenes movie attractions. I don't care how good or bad they are. Standing on a set and seeing stunts or special effects and someone telling me in dubbed French about how important it is will always do something to my heart. I can in no good conscience say any single one of them was bad. I have nostalgia not only for the movies they were based on, but the whole experience of being a pretend actor or going behind the scenes to see how a movie was made. Bonus points as well if they emphasize how dangerous it was for the actors, and then in that regard, how dangerous it was going to be for me about to enter, and Armageddon is no exception. I miss those attractions, and they will never take my animal actors or my horror makeup show away from me. I will chain myself to the doors. I've lost too many already. Anyway. The Armageddon attraction will often be one that is forgotten, but for 17 years you could pretend you're an extra on the set of the film, while randomly looking around to try and see what was happening. As studio parks continue to move away from the behind-the-scenes aspect, I hope that one day in the future we once again can have attractions that were based on movies that don't necessarily need a whole land or a fully immersive experience to exist. There is still space in theme parks for me for fun, weird, standalone rides that take you behind the scenes. An experience that for a few decades we had so many different versions to choose from that I will always continue to treasure. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Extinct. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to join the expedition. Follow us on social media for updates on upcoming episodes, and a special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel. If you would like to see more videos focusing on Disneyland Paris, let me know in the comments below. We will see you next time.